Welcome everyone to Loud and Proud Orlando. Thank you so much for being live with me today. My name is Luis Carlos Pineda. I'll be your host today. John is on its way, so he should be joining very shortly. So today here, Loud and Proud Orlando, we'll be talking about the draw 0-0 against Chicago. Definitely a lot of stuff happened at the Windy City. Orlando, it's for some reason not able to score any goals. So we'll discuss all of that and more. We'll preview New England coming up, and we'll also discuss the Rowdies coming up, where we have Orlando City has a open cup match coming up against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. All of this and more here, Loud and Proud Orlando. We'll take all your comments, and also we're gonna read some comments from some of our social media. That obviously we always let people know, hey, make sure you drop your comment, and then we'll read it live. In the meantime, John joins. So let's read your comments real quick. It says Punk. It says here, the offense really seems lacking without a Tuesta. Also, I'm surprised they went with Smith over Thorhalson or Gerbay. I believe Gerbay is still with lower body injury. Same with the Tuesta, and same with Thorhalson. It was just a coach's decision. We'll dive into more of that in a little bit, but um, look, we want to be really quick into just, I feel sometimes jumping into certain conclusions. I feel cohesiveness wise, this team's runs very well. But yeah, Atuesta is a player that has become very important. Now, I just feel like some of our DPs may not be performing the way we wanted them to. You know, they need to go back to scoring all those goals in the beginning of the season and be a little bit more consistent. To me, that goes to that. But I do agree with your comment there. We have a couple of more comments before we give the mic to John real quick. He just joined from Instagram. Bruce Geo. He says, thank you to Bruce. The only positive thing, more than 45 minutes with one more man in the pitch, and they played better, and they were more dangerous than us. Very disappointed. I highly disagree. I think they just hunker down. It was like 7 people on their defense. It was just, very hard to break that down. But then again, yes, I feel like the ones that we should have scored, unfortunately, they hit the post. Now we have another comment, and then we'll give it to John that's waiting on backstage. Fletch underscore 391 from Instagram says, honestly, I would have almost. Honestly, I would look. Listen to this. Honestly, I would have almost rather them lose last night. I would have almost rather them lose last night. Talking about Orlando City. That performance was pathetic. The vision in the final third was abysmal. I get Chicago stayed compact down a man, but if not for Gallese standing on his head, it would have been even more than embarrassing. Thank you to everybody that commented. And I know we have a couple of more comments. One last one before we give the mic to John. We have Gnocchi. Thank you so much for being live with us. We appreciate you. It says they better figure it out quick. Any word on Atuesta? Well, we'll have the footage of the training. They let media in only 15 minutes. So that means I will have to travel 2 hours to watch a training for 15 minutes. But if I find out from one of my colleagues over there that Atuesta it's training, then more than likely he'll have minutes. But we'll be letting you know on our social. So we have John right here. He just got here. John, how are you, my friend? Good afternoon.
What's up,
Or good
buddy? How are
evening.
you?
Um, a draw in the Windy City. No win for Orlando. Chicago down 10 men. What are your thoughts on the match?
Definitely one of those games where it felt like a loss, even though it was a draw. Like I think a very bitter taste left in a lot of fans' mouths. I think a lot of frustration, and
Yeah, for
I
sure.
have to agree with that. I think whenever you go up a man, and that was I think about 40 something minute. So we had a good hour or so playing up a man, and we really weren't able to use that to our advantage. But I think overall for me, I wasn't surprised, because as we've often seen with this team, when another team decides to go low block and just put everybody behind the ball, we tend to struggle to break them down. Really, in my opinion, the only guys on the team that are really good at that sort of close quarters, really being able to find the small spaces in the pockets and move a team around using their technical ability is like Cesar, I'm sorry, is Atuesta and Ojeda, neither of which were on the field for most of this game. So I'm not surprised that Cesar Rujo and Kyle Smith were not able to add more in the offense there, and Maguire and Muriel as well, just struggling, not putting their chances away. Angulo, Pasalic, same thing. I think the back line was solid again. I think Brecalo had a really good game. Obviously, Pedro stood on his head at times and saved us in that first half. But overall, it's sometimes a little bit frustrating for fans to know that we are not the best at breaking a team down, and when we do go up a man, we often are not able to like use that to our advantage. And that's something I think all soccer fans want to see. You never, I feel like when you're only have 10 men and it goes on that long, it feels like an extra weighted loss. You know what I mean? Like, even though we got the tie, the fact that we had that advantage and couldn't take advantage, and the fans watched a very frustrating performance, which really lacked any quality in the final third, overall kind of left a very sort of sour, bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths. And for me, I was kind of like a bit jaded having watched the Pride game. So anybody who watched the Pride game and then straight into the City game, we didn't get any goals, and a lot of frustration, and just a lot of like,
It was pretty much
it was not a fun night to be a fan of those two teams. Let's say that.
it's funny you mentioned that, but it was pretty much the same game.
Yeah.
I felt
A
like
lot of
it was,
poor offensive play.
yeah. So, look, the absence of Edward Atuesta, Martin Ojeda, obviously are critical to Orlando's attacking fluidity. For them to be fluid on the attacking third. Um, Obviously, Chicago got the 10 men, and Chris Brady. It was a good call by pro referees. It was not a penalty, even though Orlando was saying that it was a penalty. It was definitely outside the box. It was a red card indeed. I thought it was the right call for sure. But Atuesta and Ojeda are the ones who were moving the needle, especially offensively. Now, 23 shots, John, for Orlando City, according to the data here for Opta. 23 shots, only 2 on target. To me, that's lack of precision. I feel like there's something happening right there. Players like Ivan Angulo and Duncan Maguire, again, Ivan Angulo being that workhorse, but it's just a lack of the final touch. Duncan Maguire is still failing to convert maybe some chances or create chances at all. And also, the inconsistency of their offense in a way, taking those two players. Now, I do feel like if this is a cohesive unit, as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, when you are a man down, it doesn't matter in which position it is, the team needs to respond. And this was a game, and I do agree with the frustration with many, but number one, we didn't lose. So I'm also not going to say that we are the worst team in the MLS, that we are crappy, that people need to get fired. I'm not going to do that, but I do see the disappointment, and I do see that this inconsistency, even though this is a long season, if this is dragged out, it definitely could cause us some issues down the road.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about going through high output games a 4-2 against Toronto, a 3-0 against Atlanta in a derby, and then no goals in three straight matches. You know, to me, that of that inconsistency, it could definitely not pay high dividends on the road. I don't know what you thought about that. You putting this graphic right here.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you the attacking stats. I think, and I totally agree with what you were saying. And I think it's funny because at the beginning of the season, defensively, we were all over the place, and now we've sorted that out. And then we started the season attacking wise was great, and now that's kind of gone off the boil. So I just think we need to get both those things, and we have seen some games where, like last game against Atlanta, where the attack was great and the defense was on point too. So the consistency of getting all these back to back clean sheets, which shout out to the admin, who's a very brave man who continues to post that even when the fans are upset. So respect to you, but looking at it from the glass half empty of, hey, all of the games we've had in the last 5 of them have been clean sheets, an incredible stat.
Yeah,
But
fantastic.
4 of those 5 games we haven't scored a goal, so that is like,
Exactly.
and I think this 0-0 especially hit so hard because we went through 3 0-0s, and then we went, oh, we beat Atlanta, we're scoring again, and then we can't score against Chicago, who conceded 7 in the last game and they have 10 men. It's like, what, WTF, right? And here I think it was just like we said, lack of quality. I mean, we created so many chances, 21 shots, 3 on target. The woodwork was also not our friend. We hit that
Yeah, for
twice, the
sure.
post, and both times it came straight back out, or but it did save us. I think it doesn't show here, but there was that chance that Zinkernagel hit the post, and then that came back out. That could have gone in. So either team could have scored. They had a better first half. Obviously, we had a much better second half. I think Oscar got it wrong, in my opinion, on the starting 11 and the subs in this one. I think there's a tendency to, when you go up a man, to like throw on a bunch of attackers. But I just didn't think we had the midfield control at all in this game. I think Kyle and Cesar are just very similar players in the way that they play, and they're just very, defensive minded guys that are going to clean up the ball and play simple passes. You didn't have Atuesta, you didn't have Ojeda. Who is the creating factor? Like, who is the playmaker in this game? And I'm not sure about this Muriel Duncan combo. Like, Muriel's not really the 10. Like, he's playing as another striker and he kind of drops deep and creates, but he's not the same creation level of the, Atuesta or Ojeda are when they're on the field, and especially not when both those guys are on the field, right? So I just feel like we're playing a 4-2-4 almost right
Yep.
now,
Yep.
and you've just got a massive gap between your strikers and your D mids and your wingers, and no one's filling that. Pasalic comes in occasionally. Angulo. Let's not even talk about Angulo, but
No, no,
really, like,
I'm gonna talk about him in a little
creatively,
bit.
we will in a minute, but yeah, a lot to bring him up right now. But creatively, in the center of the park, I think we're just lacking in this formation right now. So that I just don't get. One game resting Ojeda makes sense. 2 games and still no Atuesta. I just think we lack creativity in the mid, especially in that
Yeah.
central attacking mid.
Look, number one, I do want to say, and if you're listening and you're watching, I've talked to the club several times. I've talked to people that work in the club. There is, whether we cry, we pick it outside the stadium, we complain, we call everybody shameful, and this is so wrong because they don't tell you what the player physically, his injury is. You know, we're not gonna win that fight, guys. So so it's either lower body injury or they reserve the right of not saying anything at all. It is, it's just the way the MLS set up. All teams are like that. So that's number one. Number two, I feel like, typically here, yeah, Oscar is a top 3 coach in the MLS, but I agree with John in this one as well. I felt that the team is relying too much on the wing play from Angulo, and I feel like the way he's been carrying the ball, it's been great, but that when he gets into the attacking third, when he gets to that level to throw that cross, to make that pass with the right or even with the left, he passes it back and just cuts the offense, and it's just very predictable. And when you have better wingers, especially or Chicago that has Sinker, Nagel, and Kuipers that were on fire, and so a couple of players too. That winger that was giving Freeman a run for his money as well throughout the match. Angulo seemed, that he was great physically, but I mean, it was just reliance on the wing play on that side. And then you have to understand, and again, it goes to also the way to figure out tactically how to position each game. Teams are going to figure out what you do, and you have to have, you know, different plans. In this scenario, I agree with John. I felt like maybe Kyle and Cesar were kind of neutralizing each other. Also, Chicago, what they did really well was defensively, they hunkered down on Pasalic. So Pasalic wasn't able to also create a lot. And Muriel, it was just, he just couldn't unlock the defense by himself. And to me, all of that added up, and I would have loved to see, for example, a Caraballo, for example. You just have Araujo as your pivot six, and then have two interior midfielders. One may have been Caraballo, another one could have been even Muriel if needed be. But I think that would have given more like what John is talking about. More fluidity in the attacking third, maybe a good cross, a good pass, setting up a set piece, that would have opened up the game a little more for Orlando. But yeah, I just felt like those tactical adjustments didn't pan out for Orlando City.
Yeah, I think I agree with all of that, and it's amazing to me that they don't have to release the injury report until the morning of the game. Like
Yeah,
it's
it is.
so
Yeah,
late, and
yeah,
I understand all of that, but it just sometimes it leaves fans questioning. And I think especially in the midfield, we've had no consistency. Like really, we want Atuesta and really Cesar out there most weeks. And there's been some weeks we've had that, but most weeks it's been a different mismatch of players, and players have stepped in and played well, like Trebay and Dagger Dan, but we just need consistency in our midfield. So I think hopefully these are minor things that like hopefully Atuesta is going to come back, and then we'll have a full starting 11 coming up, because we got a lot of games
yeah.
coming up in May for
It,
sure. The
it
other thing I wanted to talk about, Luis, was you were talking about the subs there.
yeah,
Uh, and I think, yeah, that was going to be my other point about where I think kind of Oscar went wrong, and he alluded to this in the press conference. Sidebar: if you've not gone and watched the press conference on our YouTube, go watch it, because I think Oscar is very honest and open, and it's basically saying a lot of what we're saying and other fans are saying. And in that, he says, like you put on a lot of attackers, but that might not actually help you in some ways, because we had like at one point it was really only Cesar in the midfield
exactly.
holding it down, and then when Chicago would break and you're like, oh, Chicago are getting a lot of chances, like, yeah, because we've got two strikers, two wingers, one guy in midfield, three center back, like, you know what I mean? It was so aggressive trying to pack guys up the field to get the goal that in some ways you left yourself too exposed. And I think that could be a trap that a lot of, you know, people fall into, managers fall into, where you think, oh, if I just throw on more attackers, that's going to get me more goals. I think it's more about like changing the way you attack sometimes when a team is packed in. Like we didn't put in aerial balls a lot. We could have gone other ways and trying to keep the ball on the ground. And I think we needed that like attacking playmaker. Maybe sometimes you need just to hold on to the ball, keep your game
Yeah,
plan, and work the ball around. And eventually the advantage, the overlap will come. But he went the route of putting on a lot of attackers. And I think not only did we look exposed sometimes when Chicago countered and Pedro bailed us out, but it didn't solve our problem, right? Like you had Duncan, Enrique, and Muriel out there at one point, I think. but that didn't create better quality of chances. We were just getting in the box, often just hitting shots directly at the defenders. They're getting easy blocks and clearing it and getting away. So I think sometimes it's more about like let's possess the ball, let's show quality on the ball than just trying to throw a lot of attackers in there and hope that one of them gets on the end of something.
Yeah, we're gonna read some comments. Guille Carlos says, Atuesta, uh, Atuesta in. We score 5 goals. No Atuesta 0 goals. Thank you, Carlos. Appreciate it. Good comment
That's
right there.
everybody's favorite thing. They're like, without Atuesta, we can't
Yeah.
score goals. I say
Look.
like, yes, I agree that he's a massive part, but we got 24 shots on goal, so it's
Yeah,
not
they're
like we
just
didn't have chances. We just
right.
we're not scoring them.
Right. I was just gonna go into that. Look, I know a lot of people are saying, Atuesta's the man and all of that. Look, um, let me tell you something about that. Is Luis Muriel to me, he had some, even though he was not, he didn't score. I mean, he created like four. According to my stats here, he had 4 key passes. He had this long ball over the top to Maguire. He had several crosses into the danger area, but no one scored. And again, that's his contribution. On a different day, maybe if they would have had like, if the players would have been a different day, maybe at home, they would have scored a couple of those. But you know, he was one of the players in the attacking third that looked ready to make something happen. But again, you can't just rely on Muriel, right? It has to be a collective effort also. And you have Pasalic being marked by 2 players. Then you have Angulo with a lack of, you know, attack essentially. And you have Duncan that is recovering, and it's he received a second another start, but he continued the trend of not receiving a lot of service or having a lot of chances, you know.
I
Um,
mean, I think Duncan is just he's just
he
not
completed.
affecting
I
the
mean, he
game.
completed most of his passes, John. I mean, he completed like I think 73% of all his passes. But
He did, but he also only had one shot and it was off
yeah,
target. So it's like the Duncan that we know, like he's doing more build up almost. It's like should be the other way around to me. Like Duncan needs to be the one on the end of these balls, and I just don't see him threatening as much. And I think often he's having bad touches when he does get like ahead of the play. He's not controlling the ball as well as he has done in the past. He's just looking off.
look,
And I think 2 starts has not he hasn't looked any better having had and he played like 90 minutes the last 2 games.
look. I know it's gonna sound very tough to me. I feel, and I know again, I am not the coach of Orlando City, but I feel that, and I think we said in another episode as well. Angulo is a great player. He's come a long way from the Angulo 2 seasons ago to the Angulo today. He's a different player thanks to Orlando City, thanks to this organization for betting on him, and also him delivering and getting that contract that he wanted to get as a starter. But when things are not working out, like you gotta try out the players. I still feel that Orlando maybe is built to just have one striker up top. Either Muriel in the first half and then change into Duncan to make that immediate impact, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And then on the wing, why don't we try Ramiro? Let's try Ramiro there. Ramiro is being underutilized as well, and I feel like he's a player that bailed us out a bunch of times too, and I'm sure he's probably eager to help wherever is needed, and he could play that position as well. I don't know if you feel the same way there.
Yeah, I mean he got back on the field again, so it's like 82nd minute he came on for Pasalic. So yeah, I agree. I think Angulo, like at
He needs
times
more
he does the
competition
right
on the wing,
thing.
man. He has no competition on the wing.
At times he does the right thing, but it's not that often. And too often he just runs into the defenders and doesn't
Yep.
make a pass or tries to like shoot and with there's a guy right in front of him, or he just dribbles nowhere and loses it, or it's just not looking clean at all from him. I think the speed is always a threat. It's going to be a threat, but there has to be some substance at the end of it. There has to be some quality. And when you look at what Pasalic does on the other wing, and he gets on it, and he gets on his left foot on the inside, it's always a threat. He knows what he wants to do. I feel like Angulo doesn't have a game plan of how he attacks. He just runs up the wing and then gets in the box, but is almost like too fast for his own thought process, because then he doesn't know what to do. And then he just inevitably, I think too much last game, we saw us trying to thread the ball through like a needle.
Yeah,
It's like
I know. That's what
Angulo
I'm
like
saying.
runs into the box, and then like Muriel runs right next to him and wants like a flick ball behind him. It's like, spread out, guys. Like let's try and like actually and also have some some of that intelligence of what to do. Like, why don't we get the cutbacks? There's so many times like Angulo, every time you just need to get up the left side and look for a cutback, look for the guy running in, or hit it far post Alex Freeman coming in on the other side. I just don't. I think he looks like he's trying to. I don't know what he's trying to do half the time, honestly, and it
Yeah,
frustrates me because he doesn't have the quality to finish, and he's not connecting the passes. So the dribble is up there. I mean, in this game, possession lost 10 times just from Angulo alone.
yeah, and
It's
and
not
I,
good.
and look, we've seen this before with a player named Ruan.
A
The
lot of people
season,
are
well,
calling him a
the
Ruan
season
regen.
when Orlando won the U.S. Open Cup that year, Ruan, he was called the Flash. He was a fan favorite. That he had the celebration with the Flash mask, right? And everything was fine and dandy. But then his performance started peaking down. Started peaking down, peaking down. Now I know it's a different position, but we started seeing that, Ruan doing that offensive work in a way very erratically, trying to do that offensive work erratically, not knowing how to cross a lot of the time, most of the time. He would get to the box, would not know what to do, right? And eventually he got traded, right? He was gone from the squad, but it took one season to figure that out. But then we also see a couple of decisions that, for example, what happened with the the left side position with Rafa Santos. We haven't seen Rafa Santos on the left for a couple games now with Brekalo right there, and Brekalo has been doing fantastic. Now we need that type of decision making. Not saying that Santos is a terrible player, but maybe he needs to take a backseat for a little bit, have somebody with a little bit more of a niche take over, and then maybe Rafa will be more useful coming off the bench. In the end, if you think about it on the bigger picture, they're not losing their position on the 21 players in the team. They're not being shunned out, to the dark corner. They are just taking a little bit of a backseat to, maybe be that good substitution that's going to make an impact and maybe help the team out. You know, and Orlando has that depth. It's just that I guess I don't know if there's maybe we're trying to make him Angulo be like a leader in the team, or because I just feel like we need to
I
take a
think,
if we need to take a chance, let's do it now because the road's
yeah.
gonna get tougher, guys.
I think before, Oscar always was like, Angulo is doing so much defensively that and he was doing it so well. And he would get up the field and connect the pass. And he had that kind of like, I'm going to leave other guys to do the, finishing. And I don't know this season because the defensive work hasn't been as good. And I just think that, his lack of production is so bad that I think it's kind of getting to the point where, Oster can't justify him anymore being in the team. I don't know how long before Oscar feels that way. Like I feel that way. You feel that way. I think a lot of other people feel that way. Some people felt that way from the beginning of the season that Angulo doesn't deserve a start. I thought that he ended the last year really well and has started this year really poorly and has not gotten any better. I feel like the team overall, a lot of the positions, a lot of guys that started poorly have all improved. Like Pedro started poorly, now is looking like, the Pedro we expect. And similar in the back line, Jansen, Schlegel, they've cleaned it up. Santos got booted out of the team, and that fixed the left back problem with Brekalo, who's come in and killing it. So the next issue in our team, sad to say right now, is Angulo. And, you know, you can be frustrated by the lack of Atuesta, but, Kyle Smith and Cesar are not really an issue, right? They're just not as creative as Atuesta is when they're in the game. But Angulo is an issue in the team because, 10 possession lost, the lack of quality, all of that things that we've talked about is getting to the point where he is just killing us down that left side. And we almost have no left side of the game at all right now because whenever we go down that side, we seem to lose the ball or can't get a decent shot and just have no production compared to the right, where you've got Freeman and Pasalic who are killing it. And Brekalo is like doing Angulo's job at times. I don't know if you've noticed this, but Brekalo gets so far up on that left side. He's like starting to cut in and like he'd take chances. Like Angulo's just kind of in the way. So yeah, I mean, I think we can perhaps maybe being a little bit too harsh on him, but overall, it's been bad. And I do think Enrique should get, we'll talk about the lineup for the Rowdies anyway. That's going to be different. But as MLS games start up again on the weekend, then I would be looking to start Enrique if he's fit and ready instead of Angulo in that position.
Yeah,
Or, like you said, go with Rafa Santos and play the five back, right? Play the five back, go with Rafa Santos as a left wing back, and have Brekalo next to him and be like, well, Brekalo is going to clean up any mistakes you make. And therefore, we can justify having you there. I would still rather, you know, put Dagger down at left wing. Why not? He could do
look,
that.
um,
Enrique, Nico Rodriguez is back. We got options now.
yeah, I mean, Sokata got injured in a really bad time because I feel, it feels, it sucks to. I mean, it's probably stupid to talk about this right now,
Yeah,
but
he would have been challenging for that
he
spot.
would have definitely won that left wing starting role this season.
Such a
Look,
shame.
Martino Hayda came in the 56th minute and breathed some life into the attack. So to me, I feel he's definitely somebody that we need to definitely have in there for sure. I understand, we're trying to keep him on the long run so he doesn't get injured, and those muscle fatigue could create tears in your muscles, and it could become a tear. And we need Ojeda, you know what I mean? So I totally understand what Oscar's trying to do, but he was definitely missed. Dagger Dan, like you said, John, I totally agree. I think I call him the Icelandic Superman, dude. This guy is crazy. He enters the game. He just enters with so much energy. Just because of that, it's different than all the other, like, not to say nothing about Ramiro or Rafa, but none of them did anything in this game. I mean, I think Ramiro entered in the 81st minute and nothing. Not a lot of opportunities. Rafa Santos, not even one cross, I think he did in the second half. So, but Dagger came out and he completed most of his passes. He got a shot off that was not on target, but he got at least one shot out. It was good to see that
Yeah,
resilience, that willingness of helping the team out. And those are the players that we need when we're in dire straits and we can score. So
I
I'm on
would have
board with
started
that.
Dagger instead of Kyle Smith, man. Like
Yeah,
I know
same
Kyle
here.
Smith is great, but I just like we talked about, there was a lack of creativity there. So when you don't have Atuesta, I think Dagger Down
Yeah,
is the next to do the same role. Dagger Down is the
yeah.
next best thing, and he can do it almost as well. So I would like to see him start instead of maybe Kyle or Cesar in this game. And I think with this formation, like we talked about as well, it just there's a massive gap there. So Dagger came on and instantly started playing in those holes where nobody was playing.
Well, hard to win on the road in the MLS. Point is a point. We had a man advantage, but we got a point at least. We
Yeah, I
got to
mean
look
we
at
are
the.
unbeaten in 5.
Yep, I'm
As
being at 5-8. Yep.
as much
Pedro
as
Gallese made
as
team
much
of
as
the
we're
week.
bragging, that is great. Respect
Yep.
to the defense. They've
Yep.
cleaned it up.
Yeah, Orlando's defense is one of the best in the MLS right now,
What are we
and
at? Like 600 minutes or something without
yeah,
conceding? I don't know
580
where we
something
at.
minutes, which is a club record. So
When is it going to be like a league record? And like Pedro's, I know he's had a record, but he's that keeps extending each game this happens, right? So
yeah, so I think Pedro it was selected for the team of the week. So that's great. Good to see him there. And to think and to think that a lot of people want him gone. You know what I'm saying? To think that a lot of people were giving him some tough love in the beginning of the season. Now they're like, I always knew it, Pedro. Thank you so much. Galese, thank you, Pulpito. You know what I'm saying? But it's okay. JCB's 95. Buenas noches, everyone. Thank you for San Pedro this week. So I'm glad El Pulpo is in the zone, but the rest of the team is not performing. Guille Carlos, when Ruan tried to cross, I would duck in my house. Yeah, that's right. No, Ruan, man, Ruan was he's a great guy, man. But it's just football is cyclical. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need a change, and I think when Angulo came in, when he first joined Orlando, he was a breath of fresh air, and he made himself very influential in that attack. And I think Oscar remembers that, and all the work that he's put out to be where he's at right now. But again, life, becoming, used to the city life, or Orlando's a beautiful city, Central Florida. You know what I mean? It's just you just get used to is and you get used to things really fast, and you just have to always have good competition. Unfortunately for Orlando, the competition that was coming for Angulo, unfortunately, got a ACL tear, like in a friendly game. But it would have been great to have that friendly competition between Sakata and Ivan Angulo for sure. But anyways, John, do you have anything else you want to add for the game against Chicago?
just so that was a wild red card from Chris Brady, who
Right.
like came out and fly
Yeah,
kicked Duncan. Like they
those
got lucky that that was not in the box, and that could have
that was
been
a
it,
wrestling
right?
move. That was a
And then we'd
wrestling move.
all, yeah, it wouldn't have mattered if we'd not not gotten the goal because we'd have had the penalty. So things are fine margins. I will say that, right there. As much as we're frustrated, we could have got a goal. Another one of these shots that just gone off the inside of a player, or off the post or something, could have gone in. So it's fine margins. The defense is performing. The attack has the quality. They just gotta figure it out. And a good time now almost to play a lesser opponent, perhaps, and midweek, and build a little confidence perhaps before the weekend game, and we're back to MLS again.
Well, Victor Rivas was the ref. You mentioned the ref on this game.
Yeah.
According to ESPN, his
Mm.
performance in this game was 7 out of 10.
Oh, they rank the refs, do they?
They said the
Interesting.
key decision on the red card was likely accurate, and no glaring errors were reported.
Yeah,
You
it wasn't really. There wasn't really any glaring errors. I can't remember too many fouls or
Yeah,
like being too frustrated at this one. So that's good. That's what you want from the ref, is not to notice him. That's
and
that's
and
the
and yeah,
best
I
of the thing.
mean, he was a better rep than many others that we've seen. Now,
Yeah.
to end this analysis on Chicago, moving on to, I think we're moving on to the Rowdies, right, John?
We'll do OCB. I do have the
We do OCB. Okay.
yeah.
Did we choke against the 10-man Chicago Fire and win with that?
Um, I think we did choke against 10 men Chicago Fire. I will say that. Yeah. I think we
Yeah.
choked in the sense that we just didn't get the win. Like everybody thought we would get the win anyway after Chicago conceded 7, right? And then we go up to 10. So I think the rest of the league is looking at this and going, how did Orlando not win this game with 10 men? Sorry, with 11 men. And, you know, the fact that Chicago are not great defensively and the fact that our offense has been good this year or had been up until more recently. So I think, yeah, definitely you know, like they say on the battered MLS pod, they say que pena. So this is the Cape Ben of
That's
this week.
funny. You know,
Because Chicago, we should have beat them. Yeah.
I talked to a couple of my colleagues. I've seen some fans reactions as well, and I agree. I think in this one we did choke, and we got 1 point, and that's yes, it's disappointing, but let's get it back against New England. It's gonna be a tough because they come into a high momentum. They come in a high momentum of everything clicking, and but we are at home, and we at home with the wall, with the fans. We got they gotta deliver those games, because after New England, the road's getting tougher. But we got Rowdies. Well, we're gonna get Rowdies the day after tomorrow, and then we have New England, and then also the Flamingos down the road too. That I don't know if Messi's gonna be here. I don't know. If no, actually, no. They're playing in Miami, so Messi's definitely gonna play for sure.
Yeah, man. We're gonna have to go down to that retirement home and see all the old
A
men.
horrible man. They should. We should definitely have shirts that say Vancouver Whitecaps. Thank you. Uh,
Yeah. Yes. Respect to the Vancouver
no,
Whitecaps.
respect
Massive
the
respect.
Whitecaps, man.
Massive
All
respect.
right, OCB update. What happened with OCB? I think we got another clobbering.
Yeah. Yeah. OCB did not, they went to Chicago as well, and they did not do well. We'll talk about
Yeah,
that game in a second. I just wanted to show you, you know, they started out bright. It had been going well, but now they've lost 3 on the bounce. Defensively, it's starting to fall apart a little bit for OCB. The Miami game, they were missing a lot of guys because GA Cup. The Red Bulls game we talked about in the last pod, they just
yeah,
started out horribly and then were chasing the game. And then sadly, the same thing occurred here. Really, it was not a good start against the Fire 2. Sorry, it was a good start against the Fire 2, and then it all fell apart in the second half. Like as you can see here from the momentum, I mean, the Fire 2 were really on top for most of this game, but we did get a goal, and then they replied with 2 before halftime. We missed the penalty, and then in the second half, we were not able to come back into it, and Chicago 2 really kind of put the sword to us and made it a 5-1 loss overall. So not the best performance from OCB, but they did have a good lineup out. I when I saw this lineup and I saw the result and I looked at the highlights, I was thinking these guys really underperforms, because I think this back line is their best back line almost, and they had the likes of Justin Ellis and Shaq and Caraballo all starting, Colin Gusky, right? Like sometimes the OCB lineup will vary depending on, is there other academy prospects to bring in? Are some of these guys available? It will be a lot of rotation in this team, but there are more consistent guys, and I think we're having more consistency. And I think some of these players are performing really well this year. So to see them concede this many, like Tahiri Brown, did not have a good game at all. The whole back line struggled really. So not a great game from OCB. Let's hope they can turn it around, as they are starting to fall down the Eastern Conference of the MLS Next Pro, now down to 7th place with a record so far of 3 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses on the season, and a -6 goal difference. So, really hoping that they can turn it around in their next game. As you can see, where is it? Let's go here. They are going to play in their next game, Inter Miami 2. So another matchup again for them, not this week, but next week at home. So another massive game. And then they play Atlanta United 2. Then they play Chattanooga. So it's like a Southeast rivalry trio coming up for OCB against our Southeastern rivals. So
Yeah.
hopefully they can turn it around, Luis, because it's starting to slip away the season for the young Lions.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to me, it's struggles and some of the dominance that Chicago had. They have that kid Shukaluk is really good. Um, I was like impressed to see how fast he is. Also, they they took over, especially they took over OCB's defense in my opinion. And also there was like kind of like a blooper of Mercado. He was caught off guard, and then they
Yeah.
scored a goal. Also,
You could definitely, I think, in these last 3 games, see the young mistakes happening. You know what I
yeah.
mean? There's a lot of stupid errors and a lot of just poor positioning and poor marking.
Also, the goalkeeper, Chicago's goalkeeper, had a really good game. He had 7 saves, and there were a couple of attempts of Shaq Mohammed and Taifi that he neutralized. But again, Chicago capitalized on finishing the opportunities that that they had. Orlando, unfortunately, it just feels like I don't know if it's fatigue or if it's just they're not
Yeah,
mentally concentrated on what's going on, or but that's something that the coach Parliament coach uh, Goldberg is going to have to to take a look at and assess, because again, like you said, John, they have a really competitive schedule ahead. Chattanooga is flying. They're flying. They're soaring. Right. They're an epic universe. You know, and
yeah,
we got to get those points against direct rivals. So all my spirit bomb goes to OCB. There you go.
yeah. Let's hope they can turn it around. I think that the offense is dried up, and defensively they're starting to have issues. So it's just all kind of going the opposite of how they started the year. But there's no reason they can't turn it around. This is what the young development league's about, Luis. You learn a lot from losing. So um,
You live and learn.
yeah, you live and learn. And I do have a lot of faith in this team. I do think they are a good team. I do think they can finish in the playoffs again. And I do think they can, make a run. They started out really well. They've just lost their way a little bit. And let's hope the OCB can turn it around, because I got a lot of hope for these guys here. And I think these young players, if they can push and do well in OCB, then that's more encouraging and gives them more chances. Like last year, we saw Alex Freeman really do well for OCB, and then that guy gets him into the first team. But the whole team has to perform in order for the individuals to also perform, right? Caraballo is not going to be able to be out there cooking if we're 4 goals down and everything's out of sorts.
Also, I do want to say U.S. Open Cup's coming up, guys. You guys want to be part of
Yeah,
the U.S. I mean,
we're
I'm
gonna
just
talk all
saying.
about these guys in a bit when
Yeah,
we talk
you guys
lineup.
want to be part. Caraballo, Gusky, Rion Tori, Ellis. Shaq. Y'all want to be part of the U.S. Open Cup squad? Then y'all gotta kill it on OCB. Because there's gonna be some games that we're gonna need you. And I mean, we've seen brilliant plays by Justin Ellis. I mean, I think he's one of the top goal scorers in MLS Next Pro. Caraballo, even Rion Tori as well, Tahir Reed Brown, Thomas Williams. I mean, so we have a pretty good team on paper, So there you go.
I wanted to share with you, Luis. There's a great account on X called U.S. Men's National Team Prospects. If you don't follow that, I highly encourage you. They've been talking about Alex Freeman all season, but they've also now started talking about Zachary Atifi. So there's a really great post here all about Zachariah and his kind of impressive season that he's having
Mhm.
in MLS Next Pro. And I wanted to read you a little bit here, saying Zachariah he's very astute defensively. That's always been a bread and butter of his game. Versatile defensive player that could play anywhere across the back, 6 or 8. Now he's at an attacking opponent that wasn't previously there, except his finishing needs work. He says in brackets. So I think this is like we saw with Alex, right? Alex was a very attacking player, and then he added more defensive. This is what you want to see. You want to see players developing more parts of their game. We saw like Taifi is a guy that is broken now into onto the scene and is killing it as a right wing back. And so this is the kind of thing that MLS Next Pro is all about: adding strings to their bow, becoming a better player, so that you can be more well rounded. And then when you go make that jump to the next level, you're able to, be flexible. So I think bright things coming for Zachariah, as we mentioned before.
Yeah, for sure. And also, when it comes to Alex Freeman and when it comes to Zakaria Taifi, I mean, the future is purple, 110%. Now, I am on the boat of them staying in Orlando for a little longer because we see young players, and this is a thing, that me and you were talking about off record about how they leave when they are 18, 19, 20 years old. We never see them again in the United States, and the MLS loses homegrown talent. And it's like we really not showcasing any American talent if you really think about it, right? um because the best players, they like to poach them. Europe likes to poach them, right away. Again, it's a player's decision, and I know it's a player's dream as well, but it will be nice, especially 2026 coming up, that that we see more of the American, players soar here locally, right, in the MLS. But anyways, OCB, always wish you guys the best. You guys are doing a tremendous job. Anyways, we're gonna go into reading some comments. It says Guilla Carlos says yes. We're about 60, almost 70 people live. Thank you for your support. If you're on YouTube, make sure you drop your thumbs up and you drop a comment. If you are on X, we're about 57 people on X. Retweet the video and we'll respond to you right away. Uh, so we have a game coming up in the next few days. We're going to have a game coming up for the U.S. Open Cup. The Tampa Bay Rowdies will be hosting Orlando City Soccer Club in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup round of 32 on Wednesday, May the 7th of 2025 at Al Lang Stadium in St. Petersburg, Florida, with a kickoff at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, which revives the I-4 Derby. The I-4 Derby, baby. A heated old rivalry between two Florida teams and marks their third meeting in the Open Cup. So, John, expectations, Rowdies are competing in the USL Championship, second tier, according to Grok, according to X, according to all the AI people. In Orlando City is in the Major League Soccer MLS. Single elimination knockout match streamed on Paramount Plus, FYI. The winner will advance to the round of 16 to host Nashville SC or the Chattanooga Red Wolves. What are your thoughts, John? What's your expectation coming up on No Me Gusta? Well, I'm not going to say that word, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, the expectations are fun, man. The expectations are
No Me
cannot wait,
Gusta.
giddy with excitement. It's an away day, man. We love an away day. So I'm gonna go to this one. You're gonna be there, hopefully,
Well,
covering.
actually, I have news
No?
about that.
Oh, okay. Do you want to? Can you break
So,
that live?
yeah, yeah, I'm honest. Dear Tampa Bay Rowdies, semicolon. My name is Luis Carlos Pineda. I am a co-host of Loud and Proud Orlando. We have about 70 people right now watching us. I will kindly ask you, please respond my email. I never heard, no one let me know what was happening. U.S. Soccer website doesn't have anywhere to apply there for the accreditation. I sent an email last night, fairly early, to see if we are able to see a way of, see what we can do. Maybe I could apply through you guys. I was advised by the club by Orlando City that they're not running the show there. You guys are running the show. All we ask is just to go and do our thing that we always do. It would be cool to see it now. It's really close by from where I am, and I'll probably be the only Orlando City reporter going to Alang, hopefully. So please respond my email. Sincerely, thank you kindly, comma, Luis Pineda. Appreciate it. But yeah, so it's on we'll see right now. We don't know yet if I'm going there or not. But either way, tickets are cheap or is it sold out? Because I'm still planning to go.
Uh, I don't know. I think all the supporter section tickets are sold out for sure. Everybody who's going to be in the
But on the normal,
cage or the designated like pen that they're going to put us
okay.
in. I know a lot of people have just been buying tickets in the general stand. So I think you're going to have purple mixed in with green all over the spot because
But if I'm a walk in, can I walk
um
in and get in?
maybe, I don't know, we'll have to see.
How about
It's
check out the tickets just in case?
yeah, it's literally not surprising to me at all that the Rowdies have not responded to your email. You know, that's just the
Yeah,
Rowdies.
you
That's
know
how
what
they
I'm
are.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to find a website that showed somewhere our full history against the Rowdies in like every competition,
Well,
but I don't think I can find it. This
well,
one is on the
I
Sophos
have it
store.
right here. I have it right here. If you want me
You
to,
do? Okay, great.
head to
Because
head, listen to
the
this.
head to head, I want to. Does it include the USL years too?
So Orlando City holds a perfect 7-0 record against the Rowdies in competitive matches, including two prior Open Cup meetings. In 2014, Orlando won 4-1 in the third round, and in
Yep.
2022, Orlando City won with a 2-1 victory at that time called Exploria Stadium. So 7-0 record head to head.
Yeah, I mean, Rowdies, tell me, how does it feel, right? To lose
Please don't tell me
eight
what.
times in a row or nine times. I don't know what we chant. I think it's like 10 times in a row now because there's other games in there that were USO, like when we were in the USL and they were in the NASL. Like there's so much history. There's the I-4 derbies that we used to play against this team as just like preseason games. Every year was like an exhibition game. We play the I-4 derby. We always won those. Like it's I think OCB lost to them once. And that's it. So technically they've never lost to the full first team. Um and we haven't played them since the last time we won the Open Cup back in 2022. And the first rounds that we had was against Tampa Bay Rowdies, and we beat them 2-1. And that was, an epic day. So, yeah, I mean, the expectation is to win. The expectation is we must win. I not often do I say this is a must win, but for the sake of bravado, for the sake of our reputation, for the sake of Central Florida, Luis, we got to go take the beat down to the Rowdies once more and show them that we are the kings of Central Florida
Exactly.
and they are just, the Rowdies. Uh, that's me being nice. Here you can see recently.
You're very nice, John, because
I'm being nice. I'm gonna be I'm saving it for Wednesday.
you lived the actual,
Yeah, no, no.
you lived the
All
rivalry
the swearing
on,
is
full
being
on.
saved for Wednesday when I will be very not nice. Yeah, for sure. But Rowdy's recently not doing well at all. They haven't won since they beat FC Naples in the Open Cup. And that was like a month ago. And then they haven't won
FC
in the league since they
Naples.
beat Miami FC like I don't know 2 months ago. So they are having a stinker. If we look at they are 4 points on the season, one draw, one win, five losses, and goal difference is -4, only above Hartford Athletic in the USL Championship table. So they have been a decent USL championship side. They won it. They are considered one of the better. I don't know why I'm saying nice things about Tampa,
I
but they
think you're
are
very
considered
nice.
one of the better USL sides. I'm trying to be a fair journalist and give them at least some kudos, even though I despise them. So yeah, but we must go beat the, let's be honest, St. Pete Rowdies. They're
That's
not in
right.
they're not in Tampa Bay. They've
They
never been
changed
in
their
Tampa Bay.
logo.
They're in St. Pete.
They
They're on the
have
waterfront.
a guy with a mustachio looks like Mario.
Yeah. And then finally, you can see here just stats wise, obviously this is two different leagues, so take that with a pinch of salt. But they've played 7 matches and they have conceded 11 goals. We've played 11 matches and only conceded 12 goals. We have double their assists, we have double their goals. Our XG is better. I don't know how much of this you can take into account the fact that we're two different leagues. One is technically League Two, like actually certified as not the championship is not U.S. Soccer Division One ranked league. It is a U.S. Soccer Division Two ranked league. So when you say they are, not in the same level of us as the pyramid, that is technically accurate. USL are going to add, in theory, a layer above them. I imagine that they will move up into that if they are so inclined when that is created to then become a D1 team, technically. So maybe when that happens, there'll be two D1 teams technically in Central Florida, but we'll still always consider them as a lower division team, as a club that we should be beating, a club we've historically beaten. And yeah, I think a good chance for us, Luis, to shake off some of this attacking rust against a defense that is inferior and we most definitely should score some goals against,
Now,
even if it is in a baseball stadium.
I asked a couple of colleagues about, give me a little bit of an overview of how, Tampa Bay Rowdies is coming to this game. And they told me the following. They had a really bad early season results, and they're a very inconsistent team when it comes to finishing their chances. And they only had one win in league play. They are right now, they shown some strength defensively, but obviously compared to your defense, that's what they told me. They're like, kids from a high school. You know what I mean? Um, so Orlando, I feel we should not, and I want to say this with all due respect, and a lot of the players watch the pod. Do not take this lightly. Do not take this game lightly. This is, and if you're a man of the sport, you've seen Sheriff Madrid, you've seen, and people are gonna know what I'm talking about. Sheriff FC Sheriff from against Madrid. We've seen times in which we feel like we're relaxed. Take this as this is a something that's going to fuel momentum for what's coming on the weekend, which is I think the most important. This should be a game that Orlando should kill it and be up 3-0 by the end of the first half. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
And
But this is a win that all fans are going to rejoice because of the level of importance that y'all need to, and I'm talking to the players, y'all need to give it. This is just not, oh, I'm playing I feel Oscar knows this too. I feel Oscar, I don't see Oscar moving too far from the plan of what he's trying to do. I have a feeling that he's going to use a mixed squad. Um, Probably giving Ojeda a little bit of more rest in the first half, but hopefully we see a different result. Even with the squad that we play against Chicago, the 4-4-2, Orlando line by line is superior by far. than the Rowdies. John.
Yeah, I mean this. I don't know too much about their team because I mean I can tell you some guys that have dropped out of MLS that are in here, but
I want you to say number 14's last name, John.
Vanya Salese. I don't know. Leo Fernandez is this guy scored. Leonardo Fernandez. He's like their tricky winger by the looks of it. He scored last game. Honestly, I have not watched a Rowdies game ever in my life because why would I? Why would I do that? Why? So I couldn't tell you anything about this team except from how they've been performing and what Luis has told you. So we played them before when they were like the top of USL. Like when we played them in 2022 in the
Yeah,
Open Cup, they were one of the best teams in
in
USL
the
that
USL
time.
for sure.
And I do think the USL quality has gotten better. It's probably over the years is slowly increasing the quality, but there is a significant gap between the likes of Pasalic and Leonardo Fernandez, right? And we need to, I think we'll talk about the lineup now, but I think we need to definitely go rotation, but also be enough respect and enough quality in the side to get this done. You can't just put out 11 kids, in my opinion, because you're going to risk losing this game, right? There's got to be a blend of rotation guys, squad guys, youth, and three or four, first teamers, quality that can really, show that they're a better quality of player than the likes of
Yeah,
Cristomo.
you can't take this game lightly at all. This is a derby. This is probably the one of the most long-standing rivalries that the club has had in history. So you do not take that lightly. Number one. Number two, um, you don't want to put OCB to play because OCB is coming not in a very good momentum here. So I highly doubt Oscar is going to do this, though. Be honest with you, but I wouldn't be surprised that they're going to pack this game. I mean, they. One thing I do want to say because I go to we cover the Tampa Bay Sun, which is the USL women's team for Central Florida, which is Tampa Bay Sun. They talk to the Rowdies, and a lot of the Rowdies, like drummers and flag bearers, go to the Sun games too. I spoke to a couple of them, and they said, they're gonna try to pack it. I'm looking at tickets right now on SeatGeek because Ticketmaster apparently I can find them on Ticketmaster, and there are tickets on different sections for like $20, 20 to $30. So I mean, it is if you really want to make the drive and you have no work the next day, hey, it's gonna be lit there for sure. But don't take this game lightly. I mean, it's also it's probably their biggest game of the year for them. So they're gonna play as this is a cup final because of it's Orlando City, because they know about the rivalry, because I'm sure their front office tells them about the rivalry, and it's MLS against USL, so there's a lot of things. So but yeah, I mean, we should be winning this game with our eyes closed. Jeffrey O, is Tampa better than Chicago? No, they don't have Kuipers or Sinkernagel, that's for sure. They have Passius and Danny Crisostomo. He used to play in LAFC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I
Yeah,
only recognize the guys that were like, and I
uh,
think Bassett, a different Bassett than Cole Bassett, but I recognize him as
Atuesta
well.
Atuesta knows this guy. He used to play in Las Vegas Lights as well at some point.
There you go.
So,
I asked Gemini, Luis, about our head to head. So I asked AI about our situation,
okay.
the head to head of Orlando City and Tampa, and it said Dubbed the I-4 Derby, dates back to when both clubs were in the lower divisions of American soccer. While Orlando City now plays in MLS, the Rowdies are in USL Championship, and their rivalry continues in the US Open. So apparently, according to AI, it is still only 7 wins for
Yeah.
us and nothing for the Rowdies. I don't know if this has got all the information,
All I'm telling
but
you is this, John.
if you
If
trust AI to give you an accurate record, apparently some sources mention Orlando having an 8-0-1 record. I don't know where this one win is coming from for them, so that seems suspect.
if Orlando City, God forbid, something may happen, it will ruin the season for the fandom for this club. They're I mean,
I think the players definitely have to
yeah.
understand that. The ones that know the club and know the history
I'm
for
sure
sure, but
Jansen and
like,
Gallese and Schlegel know.
your European players, your South American players, they understand the importance of winning a derby, a rivalry game, especially a local one that has so much history against an opponent that is not at the same level that we are. We've got to go out there and show why we are the best team in Central Florida. And I think those guys would understand that. And I think as long as Oscar conveys the importance of winning this game to the likes of those players, then hopefully you'll see that passion and that drive and that determination to get the W.
Yep. So I'm looking here. I'm looking at the midfield seats. There's midfield seats if you feel froggy.
There you go.
$64. Midfield seats right next to Oscar's cooler.
I think the thing is, it just, and this is the killer of all Open Cup games, it's just the Wednesdays, like the early rounds, just all being midweek. It's just,
Hmm.
so many people can't travel. I'm having to take a half day from work to get
Oh
out
wow.
there,
You're doing
you
that,
know.
John? Wow.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna
That's
do that.
commitment, dude.
Yeah, man. I mean, we don't play the Rowdies very
Yeah.
often, and
Yeah, that's what I'm
as someone that growing up in England, there's so many away days. It's such a thing.
yeah.
So it's so fun to do. I encourage anybody who will come out to this one or in the future go to Miami or go to Atlanta or go wherever you
Yeah,
want,
we
but just
just
go watch the team away from home. You got to do it once. Go support the Lions.
yeah,
It's always appreciated.
whether I get accredited or not, I'm still gonna go. Even if it's as a fan,
Yeah.
I'll go. I'll be able to. I'll
Yeah.
probably won't be at the supporter section. I don't know if they'll allow me, but
We'll sneak you in, Luis. We'll
I'll
get
go.
you in there.
I'll go. I'll still go. We'll go. We'll
Do you have the lineup? Do you want to get into that?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do the lineup real quick here. Hold on one second. Let me pull it up. What about 85 people live? Thank you so much for your support.
Drop a
Appreciate it.
like, everybody, please.
Everybody drops a thumbs up. Everybody that's watching and listening, thank you for your support. Let me take a look here. Orlando City. Yeah. So we're gonna leave. So we had planned to talk about New England, but more than likely, we're gonna do that on Wednesday. Right.
Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday. Sorry.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday, 6:30. We
Yeah.
will be
Pod
back to
to talk about New England.
review Rowdies and talk about New
Yeah,
England. Yeah.
I'm changing the thumbnail after after the pod. But there you go. I think we're gonna see. I don't know, man. I mean, this is a game that easily Otero could play. You know, but I feel Oscar's gonna go
Ooh,
for Gallese.
I think he's gonna go Pedro. Yeah, just
Yeah,
because I I think Otero's been fine, but just no risk. I don't think. I think if if he's gonna play the rest of the team like we think, then I think it's just safe to put Pedro in there. I wouldn't
yeah,
be shocked if Otero gets the shot though, because he has been fine when he's played in MLS. So
yeah,
maybe Oscar will say, and it might have been agreed to him that he would play the early rounds of the Open Cup. Like sometimes this stuff is talked about months before. Like Otero might be preparing for this game to be in there.
yeah, for
So
sure.
I
Yeah,
would
for
go
sure.
Gillespie, but Oscar
Now,
might put Otero.
I'll be honest with you. I am 110% confident on Otero. So whether Poppy decides to put Gallese or Otero, it's great. Um, I think here we're probably gonna see. I don't know, man. I think
I think we're
I think
gonna
we're gonna
see.
see Caesar again because they want to give him some minutes.
I think your backline is different from what I have it.
So which
I
one do
I
you?
think we're gonna see Dagger down at right back. Give Alex a rest. I also think we're gonna see Rafa Santos at left back to give him a chance against lesser opposition that's not as a threat as much. Like he should be able to deal with the Rowdies' attack. You would hope. Um, and then I think Schlegel and I don't think Thomas Williams. I was considering it, but I think the way he's performing at the moment for OCB, it hasn't been great. I'm not super encouraged that he is ready, but maybe he is. He did okay when he played a few minutes for the MLS team, so maybe Oscar will go Thomas Williams. But I think you're
I
going to
I
see
don't know.
rotation at the fullbacks, man.
Look,
I don't think he's going to go Brecalo. I don't think he's going to put Jansen in there. I think there's some of these guys that he's going to want to rest.
look. So you feel it's gonna be Dagger and Rafa
I
again?
think Daga and Rafa you can get away
All
with, and
right.
it's
Now,
their starting quality. Well, maybe not Rafa right now, but Dagger is a starting quality MLS player, no doubt, in any position.
I feel like here,
I think Schlegel probably.
I think here we could see Schlegel and maybe even Brecalo as a center back.
Maybe I would love to rest Brecalo
Now
because he's injury
I don't
prone,
know honestly if
and I'm worried about 2 games in a week with some of these guys.
I don't know. Man, we could even see Kyle Smith.
I could see Thomas Williams getting the shot. I don't
Do you
love
think
it,
he'll get the shot
but
even
I could
though
see it. I think
even
Open
though
Cup.
OCB got four score games?
Yeah, I think Oscar is willing to understand that it's their development, right? And I think we've seen him at least he put him in a game this year, right?
Okay,
So if you're putting these guys on for minutes, you got to hope that then
right.
this is the game where they get to start some of them. And I think also that we are light on center backs because you're playing all three of them, the first team ones really, at once at one time. So if you can't rotate them now, when can you rotate them? So yeah, that's why I'm gonna
Yeah.
go for that. But
So
we might be wrong. This is the most difficult lineup to pick so far of the year, hands down, in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's gonna feel froggy putting Thomas,
Maybe.
but I think this back four. I mean, against I'm talking about we're playing against the Rowdies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Um
um,
I
now,
I, I think Gervais should be in that midfield.
yeah. So Jerbay is probably gonna be back.
Yeah, I think Gervais, if as long as
So
he's fit enough, will start in the D mid.
and I'll see Jerbay and Kyle Smith.
Yeah, like if and that's the thing. Maybe Taifi would get right back, and then you put Dagger at D mid. That's also an option, but I think I don't want to have too many OCB guys in there, so I think it's some of them get picked in certain positions, but others don't. Maybe Colin Gusky could be in the starting in
Mm,
CDM
I don't
next
know.
to
Maybe
Gervais.
I think I mean maybe wasn't the partnership was Dagger and Jerbay.
Yeah, I
So
could see that,
maybe we'll see
and
that
then you see Kyle at right back. Yeah,
and see Kyla Ryback
I
with
think I think Dagger, Gervais, and Kyle all play depending on where they play.
yeah.
I don't
So
know.
I think I like this because
Yeah, I like that too.
yeah, Kyle is solid wherever you put him on the
Yeah,
field.
Dagger would be nice in there next to Gervais to
Now,
bring a bit more
your
attacking threat.
your number 9 is going to be to me. It should be Duncan McGuire.
I agree. I would.
I think this
He's got
is
to
a
get a
game in which
goal.
Duncan should go off in this match. Like hopefully a brace or hopefully a hat trick. But I think this is a game that Duncan definitely we need to just rest Muriel.
Yeah,
Now, right here on your right, who do you want to put on there?
I go Nico Rodriguez starting right wing, and this
On the left or right?
on the
Because
right for Nico. This is Nico's big game. I want to see him score. I want to see him threaten their back line. I want to see that haircut come to fruition, bro. You know,
Okay, Nico Rodriguez, and then on the left,
Enrique.
me too, Ramiro
Yeah.
Enrique.
And then I would start Ojeda. And I know that might sound crazy, but I think you start Ojeda because you need
Yeah.
that linchpin. We need that central attacking, piece to play around, in my opinion, with this lineup. And I think he will tear it up against these guys. Hasn't played the last two games. Bring him off at halftime if you want, but put him on in. And I struggle to think of another player, Luis, that can play that central attacking mid role right now for us, as well as like all these other positions. We've got a backup, an OCB player, a young player, or a rotation player. The center attacking mid, I'm like, who? If like we've seen when Ojeda's not there, we're not playing anybody in that position, right? So who is the other option there? Maybe Dagger Dan could play
Well,
that position, but
there's
that
an
would be a
option.
stretch.
It's unpopular, but
Yeah, who?
Gustavo Caraballo.
I was thinking about Gustavo, but I think he prefers the wings. Like I'm not gonna
Now,
put him there.
I feel that this is a chance that we should hone this match in the first half right away. So I agree with you with Ojeda on there.
Yeah,
If
start
Ojeda,
Ojeda, get the goals, bring him on.
exactly. Get start Ojeda, get the goals like you said, and then second half you take him out. You put Caraballo there if you want, or even you
Yeah,
can even put Muriel.
yeah. Or go to like
Taking
put
Nico.
Enrique and Duncan up, and then put
Correct.
Caraballo on the other wing.
Right.
You could start with that, but I think we need some quality,
Right.
and I think Ojeda can be that
Yeah.
and play with the other youth like Gerbe and Dagger, bringing a lot of quality. Kyle Smith is reliable. I think this
Now,
is a good blend of
yeah, this
OCB
is
and first team rotation
so this
guys.
is a good blend of OCB, OCB uncertainty, experience, and signings uncertainty. So we have Thomas Williams, which is unfortunately an OCB uncertainty right now. Because OCB is not doing too hot. Let's be completely honest. Not because of Thomas, it's just because OCB is not too hot and he's part of the back line. Nico Rodriguez is an uncertainty because we don't know yet if he's going to be influential, but I think this would give him a chance to start and kind of motivate him. Ramiro, we're trying him in a new position to maybe take some of the heat from Ivan Angulo. And I think this will be up. And we know what Gerbe and Dagger will give us in the mid.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you could play around with who plays where and like maybe move few of them in and out and maybe start one of these guys over the other guys, but this is what we want to see. I want to see some OCB guys out there. I want to see a blend of the rotation options. We use this game for the likes of Enrique, Duncan, Rodriguez. Like, let's get some goals for other guys in our team so that when we have these 0-0s and they come off the bench, they've got a bit more confidence. They've scored. Maybe they're actually in form as opposed to just coming off the bench and looking a bit cold themselves.
Right. You take Ojeda out, in the second half. You
Yeah.
sub him on, maybe Justin Ellis or something,
If we start to worry, you've got, you got to have Muriel, Pasalic, everybody on the bench. Like
Yeah.
Atuesta, if he's ready. Like, if we need to, bring them all on. No
Right.
qualms about that. But let's start with trusting the rotation and the youth can get it done.
Yeah, completely. I like this starting 11. I think it's a very competitive one against the Rowdies. We're about almost 100 people live. Thank you so much for your support. Anything else you want to add? I think you want to share, want to do
Yeah,
predictions?
let's do our predictions.
Yeah, we
And
killed the last game was bad.
last game I predicted 2-0, you predicted 2-1. It was a 0-0. I think we should just have Paula predicting 0-0 every week just so it can't happen. Because we did that against Atlanta and it didn't happen. So maybe
Okay.
that's the bad juju. All right, Luis, I already put you in for a W. What are you thinking score wise?
5-0 Orlando.
5 no. I like it. I like it. All
What?
right.
We
I
can win
mean,
five.
it's the Rowdies. This is crazy.
I mean,
I mean, the nil, I agree with. The 5 goals, I think we've been lacking recently. So let's hope their defense is shaky. I think we're gonna win. I'm gonna go 3-0. I'm not gonna go the 5. I don't see that. I think obviously, like we talked about, we're gonna play a defense that is not as strong as the one we've been playing in MLS. I still think we have enough not to let them score a goal, especially with their form that they've been in their league. We should be good enough, even with that rotated back line, to keep the Rowdies out. I don't want to go there and see them celebrating in their house, Luis. I want to go there and just watch us have a party and leave. So, no goals for the Rowdies, please.
yeah, no
And
goals.
as we said, we'll be back on Thursday
Yeah,
to review the Rebs, which will be our next MLS Cup MLS game on the weekend.
that's right. And if you're just joined, make sure you subscribe. If you're on X, retweet the video. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, drop us a comment, thumbs up. Rewind, watch the first part of the video. We highly recommend it. It was really interesting. Our analysis in Chicago about Chicago. Thank you for your support. We have the Pride Pod coming up next. So in a few minutes, if you're looking to us kind of talk about the loss against the Pride against the Portland Thorns, make sure to tune in. At the end of this video, there's going to be a link that's going to pop up that's going to guide you to that stream. And anything else you want to add, John, before we go?
No, just like you said, follow us on all the socials. Subscribe if you've not on YouTube. I know a lot of people watch but are not subscribed. So if you could do that for us, we really appreciate it. Doesn't cost you anything, but helps us out in the algorithms and helps more people discover Loud and Proud Orlando. We're cooking up some things in the background for
Yeah.
later in the year. We're working on some different projects, some different things we can bring you guys. I don't want to give anything away, but
Yeah.
we're excited. So, your support means a lot to us, and we appreciate y'all every time you like or comment or do any of those things on social media or being here, commenting on the video. We appreciate you guys as always. So, vamos, Orlando, Luis.
Vamos, Orlando. Have a good one. And also, if you're on Goals TV, this episode will be there in a few
Yes,
minutes.
on
Have a
Ghost
good one,
TV
guys.
now. Let's go beat the Rowdies.
Let's go. No me gusta. There you go. Bye.